This is Mo, the bearded dragon. When health checking, look at his head to make sure there is movement. Like, go like this and his head is moving. If it doesn't move, there could be a sign of injury. Look at his ears, they should be clean and clear, which they are now. They're at the side of his head. A sign of illness could be gunky. And when looking at his face, you look at the eyes to make sure they're clean, clear, they're bright. If they're not bright, there would be cloudy, gunky, maybe closed if they're ill. Then you look at their nose, little by its eyes. Then you look to see if they're clear and clean, obviously. If not, there would be gunky, maybe runny, for illness. When looking at his scales, make sure that they are all intact. None of them are standing up. His spikes need to be spiky as it's protection from animals that want to kill him. Their scales should be not broken. They should be all laid flat. And then if there is a sign of illness, they could be sticking up or anything else. When looking at his legs, you'll just make sure that he can move them and that all the scales on his legs are perfectly fine. If they're sticking out too far, he could have metabolic bone disease, which means he's not getting enough calcium and vitamin D from his... Well, there's calcium powder, which he can give on his food, and then the vitamin D he gets from his UV light. On his feet, make sure his nails are not too overgrown, which they are not right now. Sign of illness on him for his nails is that they could be overgrown, which is bad because otherwise they'll be painful. The general behaviour is you'd assess the behaviour of him before going to handle him to see if he's shown any stereotypical behaviour. Normally, he will just let you pick him up, but stereotypical behaviour is where he would run away from you if you're trying to handle him. Stereotypical behaviour is normally led by illness or pain. When looking at his appetite, you can always put a cricket in front of his face or in his environment, and he'll normally go straight to eat it. A cricket or a mealworm can be given. He likes them both. Normally you'll just look at the records of what he was given the day before, and if he has eaten what is on the records, then it means he's eating perfectly fine. When handling him, you make sure the towel is flat against your stomach and you're protecting him and his body weight. So right now, he's perfectly fine and he's happy. If you're not protecting him fine, he'll become stressed because he feels like he's not comfortable. If you need to restrain him in any way, you would need to use an apron so his nails don't get caught to the fabric. Make sure his tail is not whacking side to side because he's so scared. Restraining him, you need to use gardening gloves, as he can scratch you like loads. You can use a towel, but you just wrap it around him so he can't scratch you or anything. Well, an apron has to be used because if he has a disease and you put him on your clothing and you go to touch another animal, they could get the disease from him. He can also wee and poo on you, which is never done. His environment has to be at the right temperature. It has to be warm on one side and then hottish on the other side. because he's a desert animal. If they are happy to be in that environment, then they will be fine living their whole lives. But if it's too small, they could become stressed as they can't do nothing. But his is fine right now. He has got enrichment. He's got a small half tube that he hides under for night time, and sometimes he climbs on top of that tube. He has a branch which he can climb on, and he has some fake leaves where he can hide himself like he'll normally do in the wild from other animals.